This is Adventurer for Life. I'm Joel. We're going to do a review of the mechanical aspects of my new 2024 Ineos Grenadier Trialmaster. Look forward to the discussion. So I'm out here again, just taking a look at my new Grenadier and admiring it for its look. And today we're going to discuss the mechanical aspects of the vehicle. First of all, again, I love the car, very excited about it. From a mechanical standpoint, I think everything's in pretty good shape, but I'll probably mention a couple of, things that are just things for us to know or concerns or whatnot. Let's start off with power, with the motor. As you guys know, I think already, it's got 282 horsepower, and it's a BMW inline 6-cylinder, which supposedly gives you maximum torque. So we're going to take a look at the motor real quick, and this is interesting. If you can see that, pull 2 times. So you pull once, and the hood pops up a little bit, and you pull again, and then it actually releases, so it doesn't have an under the hood release. And so it does not have hinges. It's got this little doodad right here that I'm going to lift up in a second and put on the motor. So anyway, I put the little doodad up there, and retaining rod, whatever you want to call it. There's the engine bay. Looks pretty cool. I'm certainly not going to ever do anything under there. Won't be surprised if this is one of the few times I ever see this motor. But anyway, there's what the engine looks like. By the way, when I put the hood down, if you just let it down to about there, and that'll do it. So as far as power goes, the acceleration was strong. Again, I drove this I've driven 250 miles now, most of that on the interstate. Drove it up to 85 miles an hour. The acceleration was strong. It was better than I expected. So I was very, very happy with that. Let's talk about the suspension. If you look underneath here, if you can see all those parts, it's got really, really beefy suspension parts. The suspension is firm. I've got a 1-ton dually, and it's not as firm as that truck is. It doesn't beat you around quite as much as that does. But if you've been driving a car, it's gonna be a lot stiffer and a lot rougher than what you're used to. As far as the ride goes, again, I drove this thing 85 miles an hour down the interstate. Even though it is, you go over bumps and whatnot, and it's pretty stiff and you can feel it. Just going down the interstate, it was quite smooth, very, very pleasant, didn't beat you around at all. Transmission shifts real smooth. Again, it's got this ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, and you could barely even feel the gears shifting. So that was very nice. Transfer case, and again, I'll show you some underneath video of the transfer case. I tried just now, and I'm going to show my ignorance and lack of knowledge about the vehicle. I tried just now, read the manual, and tried to shift it into the low range, and couldn't do it. Now I could I could get the center diffs locked, but you've got this knob in the center, to control the transfer case there, and you've got high and low, and then you can shift it over to the right. So there's 4 settings. There's high, no diff lock, that's top left. If you shift it over the right, you've got the diffs locked. If you shift it down, you get low, unlock center differential, and lock center differential. Well, again, I could move that over to the right, but I could not move it down. I read the manual and couldn't get it to do it, so I'll figure that out at some other point. Okay, so I thought I'd give you guys a look from underneath. There obviously is the engine. There's the front wheel drive, the drive axle for it, the transmission, the transfer case, I'm assuming that is the transfer case. The rear drive shaft and the axles back there. Here is the gas tank. You see that there is some shielding for the gas tank. Anyway, one thing you see for sure is everything under here, the axles, the drive shaft, all of this stuff is very, very heavy duty and quite impressive. Let's talk about towing. I mentioned this already, but the towing weight is you can pull a 7,716 pound trailer, and I think that's indicated inside the door right here. So gross vehicle weight rating 3,500 kilograms, 7,716 pounds, and I don't see it there, but it said I saw somewhere that the tongue weight was 772 pounds. It did come with a hitch with a 2-inch ball. The ball looked a little bit small on the top. I don't know if that matters, but anyway, it's smaller than the other 2-inch balls I have. Steering, we talked about that already. Requires more input than you're used to. And I turned this wheel all the way earlier when I was making that video underneath, and the wheel just doesn't turn all that far. So you can see that the turning radius is not bad, but it's certainly not great. And again, if I just leave one hand on the wheel when I'm turning a corner, then when I'm ready to correct and straighten out, my hand's already on the wheel and it will naturally kind of unsteer or correct the direction of the vehicle, and that's worked out pretty well for me. If you're going at if you're turning at something less than 90 degrees, I'm going to say something less than 75 or 60 degrees, it does seem to self-correct. So if it's a slight turn, I think you're going to notice that it mostly self-corrects. But if it's a sharper turn, 90 degrees or more, maybe 75 degrees or more, it's not going to self-correct, and you're going to have to help it along. Does appear to me that there's going to be a break-in on that, and once the car is broken in, maybe it's going to self-correct a little bit more, but we'll just have to see over time. I did notice, I told you again, I took it up to 85 miles an hour. I did notice that at those higher highway speeds that I did have to give it a little bit more steering input to keep it in the middle of the lane. When I was going slower, 60 miles an hour or whatever, I didn't notice that. But it did seem at those higher speeds that I was having to give it a little bit more input. As far as the range goes for the fuel tank, this thing's going to get about 15 miles to the gallon. It's got about a 20-gallon gas tank. So, it's 300 miles. I filled up the gas tank for the first time at 250 miles, a couple miles from my house. And, that's all you're going to get out of it. There's talk about getting ancillary fuel tanks and stuff like that. Obviously, the people in Australia and Africa and places where you don't have a gas station every few miles, that's very important to them. And honestly, I'd like to have a bigger, more range myself. So I did put premium in it. We'll walk around to the gas tank. By the way, you do fill up on the passenger side. Most of the cars that I have, it's on the other side. This thing here is plastic, so that's that's less than spectacular, but there you go. Pump octane number 87 minimum, 91 recommended. I'm going to put premium in this thing all the time. As far as service intervals, I was surprised. You know, most vehicles, it's every 3,000 miles, 6,000 miles, whatever it is. This is 12,000 miles in between service visits, or 1 year, or 640, I believe, engine hours. So the time frame between service and getting your oil changes and whatnot is longer than most cars, and I'm going to consider that to be a good thing. And then finally, as far as warranty goes, I mentioned this, I think, in an earlier video. The baseline warranty is 5 years or 60,000 miles for the overall vehicle. For the paint is 3 years or 60,000 miles. And then for rust, they call it perforation, I think, it's 12 years. So, I'm excited about that, because I plan on driving this thing in, places where there's, maybe going to be some salt on the road, or in places where it could be rough and there could be some, rusty type situation. So anyway, that is the story on the mechanical. I'll figure out this transfer case issue at some point and spell that out in a later video. Thanks for coming along, and the next video we'll be doing some off-road driving. Well, okay, as always, there's an addendum, and I did talk to the guys at Regal Ineos about shifting into low range. And so the manual actually says put it in neutral with your foot on the brake and shift, and that does not work. So what you have to do is, and I'm going to demonstrate right now, I'm going to go pull forward at a couple of miles an hour and just kind of get it set. I'm going to stop. I'm going to put this thing into neutral, as you see there. Here's the thing I wasn't doing. Put on the parking brake, and then lift the collar and shift. And you saw I had to pull that thing, and then you get right here on the warning panel, the fact that it's in low gear. Now I'm going to, and you also see the parking brake. So I've released the parking brake. Now I'm going to put it into drive. The first time I did this, and so now it shows it to be in too low, and you can see the shifter is in low. The first time I did that, I heard like a little grinding sound or whatever, like the gears. So I'm going to anyhow move this over into first gear, and we'll just take a quick look. I'm going to drive down this embankment, and we'll get a quick look. And if you can hear the motor, it's I don't have my foot on the gas. I don't know if you can see my tire marks from earlier. This is probably a 25-degree embankment, something like that. And I'm going down at 4 miles an hour. I'm not trying to use the descent mode or whatever. I just took my foot off the gas. Now I'm up to 5 miles an hour or whatever. But anyway, that's how you put it into low. Again, you can hear the motor revving up a little bit. And now I'm going to take it out of low, and all you have to do is lift the collar and just move it forward. No, you don't. Let's see. Oh, I probably have to put it into neutral. Okay, now it's in neutral, and now I've shifted it out of low. So it must be in neutral no matter what. And then to put it in to low mode, you have to have the parking brake on, and to take it out, you don't, but it has to be in neutral. And again, it's you got to really push on the thing. All right, we'll do some driving later. Okay, so now we've got an addendum to the addendum. It turns out that you see I'm in park low and in neutral. We'll move forward just a hair. And I'm sorry, it's not in low anymore. I'm back into high. So now I'm going to go back to neutral. I'm not going to engage the parking brake. And I just now a second ago shifted it. Okay, so I'm now in low here. I'm in low, and I didn't have to use the parking brake. So for some reason I had to do it the first time. And so if you're having any difficulty getting yours into low the first go round, you also, when you're, like I said a second ago, if you want to move it out of low, you must be in neutral, and you'll see that I can now shift it, and the low is off, and now I'm going to shift it right back down, and it's back into low. All right, see you next time.